Hold on, I'm going live, Henry. I just have to clean it off so that it actually stays up. What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. I'm a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie. But I got my perspective is grand. Oh, that looks even funnier that I look like I'm like, oh my gosh, holy crap. I just watched the video of me cleaning off my phone and it looks terrible. It was so not a good thing. Okay, so, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna ever live that one down. We're definitely editing that video before. Do you remember the time that Brianna? Yeah, that it's pretty much that. Holy shit! Oh, okay. No. Let's just move forward. We might need to just end this one. No, it's so bad. I was like, it can't look bad. I'm just cleaning my phone off, but it looks really bad. Okay, so, wow. I don't know if I'm ready for this. So today, yeah, holy shite. What did I do? What have I done? I'm so glad I'm not like famous because, yes, I am sick. Like I kind of got sick when I came. I'm really sick now. Sick to my stomach about what I just did. I got sick coming home from imaging, not like sick, like I just had a cough and a little bit of a cold, but I tested negative for the Rona. So we're good, but it just like, it's all like all the cough and everything's coming out again. And so I'm done being sick. So my thing says no data. So I hope we're live, right?
Guess what?
What?
We have 100 subscribers.
What?
Yeah.
We finally hit 100. Okay. We got some exciting stuff for you today, but today we are going to talk about perspective. How do you live your life? What? This one is actually, so a funny story. The reason this whole topic came up is, about like 2 weeks ago, was it? Mia and I were messaging back and forth, and she was being a little bit of a boob. Woe is me, crybaby. Now, mind you, she had every right to be. I just now realized what that was all about. So now I feel like a tool. But anyway, she was struggling, and she made a comment to me, and we'll get into the comment, but she made a comment to me, and I instantly went into Trello and I made a note. I said, this is a topic for a live, so that's what we're going to talk about today is perspective, because I think all too often, some of us look at it just altogether the wrong way. But we will, oh shoot, I don't have my stuff queued up to be able to do my intro, but now we do. So this is real life live with Sam. But first, a word from me.
What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Marvin, and I have been in the photography industry for 25 plus years. While I love being a creative, business is my passion, and elevating the industry of photography is my focus. I created the 7-Figure Photographer to share my journey to 7 figures and to help others find their way too.
Okay, so obviously, as you can already tell, today is going to be an interesting day. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that I am a mess. This is honestly the first time that I've done a live in a long time where I didn't have some sort of like slide deck set up. It's been a busy couple weeks. I'm just making excuses. That's really what it is. It's been busy and everything's just going on. And so I really could not decide on what I wanted to talk about today. I didn't really want to get into this topic, but as I said, Mia and I were talking, so I'm gonna put it out there. Sorry. But as many of you know, the 20th of January, which is the day after my birthday, let's focus on the fact that it was the day after my birthday, was the 1 year anniversary. Is it an anniversary? It was a year ago to the day that Mia lost Ansley, her 16-year-old daughter, to a heart attack. Was basically the consensus, and it was really interesting. I'm going to talk about the perspective aspect of it here in a little bit. But we were talking on the phone. I just kind of was talking about this. We were talking on the phone, and she was struggling a lot with some things. And I have a tendency to be a little bit, a little insensitive. And mind you, I know that I'm being insensitive, but I'm trying to lend perspective because I know that she often relies on me to be the voice of reason.
It's a bad idea.
It is a bad idea on your part. But she has, like, I kind of created, like, not developed or created, I fell into that expectation, I think, early on in our relationship. Like, I started to, you know what, I'm going to put you up on my, so I started to realize that, like, you really leaned on me a lot for that voice of reason. But now I'm starting to see that she actually gets really annoyed with my voice of reason. And it oftentimes lends to her being really frustrated with me. And so I'm like, okay, well, like, do I continue to be the voice of reason, or do I just, like, what's the right word? I gotta be really careful because
You don't have to be careful.
I'm afraid
I told you, you're good to go.
Well, I know, but I'm afraid of being insensitive. So, but anyway, she was struggling, and she knew that she was going to struggle with this particular day. And honestly, we went through the day, and the day was pretty good.
Pretty good.
But I think that it was really right about the time that, like, and for those of you who don't know the story, I'm going to share it real quick. Mia and all the friends here, our friends group, had planned to do a surprise birthday party that was not a very good surprise because,
Because you suck at keeping.
I
letting us
suck at
surprise
letting
you.
people have surprises. So they sent Michelle and Rylan and I off to dinner, and so she was preparing for this big surprise party. Michelle specifically asked for my birthday, and she said, you can do whatever you want with your friends the day after your birthday. And so that was the day that they were going to surprise. And it was a great birthday. Like, honestly, like, all day was like, well, it was actually quite obnoxious. There was confetti everywhere. Like, there was just, like, it was like we literally cleaned up from that day for, like,
Forever.
well,
still.
it was a lot longer because of Ann's passing. She kind of she threw a loop and everything. But what had happened is Mia had gone home to get the kids dinner, and she was walking through the grocery store, and she had spoken to Ansley on the phone and asked her to put a lasagna in the oven. And she got home, and she was kind of getting dinner and everything ready to go before she was ready to head back to the studio. And she called up to Ansley and sent her daughter up there. And I don't mean to, like, put so little, like, emphasis on this because it's
perfect.
Unfortunately, Ansley she'd already passed at that point in time, and man, I didn't expect to get. So, anyways, I didn't mean to do that.
It hits
I thought
you funny.
I thought I could talk about this without
There
any
you go.
problem. No, I don't need tissues.
I do.
So anyway, so this particular situation that I'm talking about, we're messaging back and forth, and I was like, oh, she's doing really strong, you know. But the one thing that really annoyed me and really bothered me was that she said she very, like, poignantly said, I'm gonna struggle. Like, this is gonna hit me hard. What were the words you used? You used some, like, there was a specific word that she used, and I was like, okay, like, you're choosing. And I know that, like, this is where I can sound really insensitive, and it's not a matter of being insensitive. I don't think anybody, well, those of you who have experienced loss, but I can't even imagine the loss of a 16-year-old child, or just somebody that has, like, so much so much potential in life. But again, I'm here trying to be voice of reason, and I was kind of annoyed because I was like, okay, you're already planning for this to be a miserable time. Like, you're just planning for it. You're expecting it. You're speaking it into the world, right? Yeah. And so, and this is where I'm going to get into this perspective, because this is not one I've shared with Mia, and not one that I want to take lightly, nor do I mean it insensitively. But she was struggling, and at the moment, about the time when everything started to happen is about the time this year that Mia really started to unravel. And she kind of went into this, which totally understandable. She went into like this 3-4 day, like just really hard down on herself, really frustrated. And I can't even imagine. She spent pretty much this weekend cleaning out her house.
Yep.
And changing things up, which I think is a great thing. But back to the perspective idea of it. I heard a story this week, and I don't even know if it was you that told me or if it was Michelle that told me. I think it was Michelle. And there was maybe it was you. Was it you that told me the story about the lady that had lost 3 kids and only had 1 left?
Yeah, she's my therapist.
That's your therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
She's amazing.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Well, that changes things a lot. That makes this even more weird. But I have to, like, for me, like, the one thing that I want to say to you is, like, not to discount or devalue what you lost in Ansley, but imagine that perspective.
Right.
You still have, and I know that it's heightened everything for you on the aspect of, like, you just want in the worst way to make sure your kids are safe. You're like, everything you think of, like, you're terrified. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine as they now are starting to do more, like, riding in cars with friends without adults, like
stupid,
that kind
crazy
of
stuff.
Yeah, stupid stuff. And anyway, my point in all this is the perspective that we choose to take. And would you agree that it is a choice that you can choose to see it one way or another? Doesn't necessarily mean it's easy.
No, it's not easy.
To see that choice. Now, I'm going to give you a minute because you gotta have some rebuttal to this, and you might even just like squash me. But then I have a different story that I want to talk about, because I think that just kind of it moves over into a whole different world of perspective. So we're just going to go straight to your face. So,
oh, awesome. I like it.
There you go. There's Mia.
Rebuttal. No, actually, you are correct. I think one of the things that I've learned over the year that I'm still dealing with, and I think in perspective, speaking of perspective, you get a different perspective than most people do because we're together 24/7. Mm-hmm. So there is that different perspective versus what other friends or people that I only see sometimes. There are times when I have to let the emotions take over, because if I suppress it too much, then there gets to a point, and you have helped me realize this in different ways, but if I suppress it too much or compartmentalize it and put it away, one simple stupid thing can happen. You can say something, or a person can walk in and they look like Ann's, or somebody does something or snorts when they laugh, and I freaking lose it, and I'm done for days, because I haven't allowed myself to ride the waves of the emotions as they actually come. So in that perspective, yes, I do. It's the fear of the unknown. How am I going to react? Like when her first anniversary was coming up, how am I going to react? They did a candlelight thing, and I didn't, we knew it was an hour, and I told you, I'm like, dude, you don't have to go, because I don't even know that I'm going. I already wasn't ready to do it, and it's that fear. So I think there is that balance of, I have to let go sometimes and change that perspective, but then other times I do have to allow myself to ride the waves. And I think that goes with all aspects of life, whatever it is you're struggling with. If we have a fight with our spouse and we push it down, then they're going to come back with one little thing, and all of a sudden it's not about that one little thing. It's about that one thing and the other 50 things that you pushed down and you never allowed yourself to ride the wave for. It could be the same in business, like when you have a customer that just does that one thing that you hate that all other customer does, and then you like blow up at that customer, and it had nothing to do with them. It was the fact that you didn't but deal with each one as they came. So when you hit that final one, it goes crazy. But I do need your voice of reason. I don't know how reasonable it always is, but I do appreciate it, and I do need it sometimes.
And sometimes she just gets
sometimes
really
I hate it,
annoyed with me.
Yeah, and then I ignore you for a while. And
So interesting. You say that you ignored me. Did you know I actually read something last night? So I'm sure you didn't know this, but I am notorious for this, and I thought about it. I even do it to you. I do it to Michelle, but. The cold shoulder or the silent treatment is actually, I didn't realize this, it's actually a significant form of mental abuse. I didn't realize it. And it's especially hard on people who, like me and you
like
and
words of
Michelle,
affirmation?
who love to write our own stories. Like, it's just... It's
No,
really
I can absolutely see that.
Sam annoying. No,
Sam annoying.
Thanks, Allison. Okay, so I want to tell. There was another story that I read, and actually two different things that I saw that really, really just hit this concept home, because I think that it is so much like we as photographers, as creators, have this like tendency to see the negative, to see, like, for instance, we were talking the other day about like keeping networking with other photographers. We have a tendency to see other photographers and just take the wrong perspective or write the wrong ending to the story. So I wonder how much like perspective falls in line with like the imposter syndrome, like that whole perspective thing. And I think that it's really, you can choose to. It is a choice. It's not an easy choice. It's just like being skinny is a choice. It's not ever been an easy choice for me, which Clint, if you're here, Clint flipped me a lot of crap last night. Well, he didn't flip me crap. He just was talking about.
You just tried to change your perspective.
He's trying to change my perspective. And so I was like, okay, well, like I expect people to change. I expect people to make the decision, or like to choose to better their businesses. But I can't force it. People have to make that decision. And so I made the decision last night to not drink Diet Coke until sync. So I got my water here, my clear water, not my caramelized water. But anyway, so the story that I wanted to share that I read on Facebook, and it was about a dad who, his daughter was graduating, and he says, honey, I bought you a car. But it's not a car that you get to keep. You have to sell the car. And so he said, I need you to go and find a buyer for the car. So first thing I want you to do is I want you to go down to the dealership and see what they would give you for the car. So she goes to the dealership, and they offered her basically $1,000 for the car, saying, there's a lot of stuff that we would have to do to it. It's really not like not something that we really have the capacity to turn around and sell and make a profit, and so we'll offer you $1,000. She went home, she told her dad, and she said, Dad, they offered me $1,000 for this car. And Dad says, you know what, now I want you to go to a specialty used lot, and I want you to take it to them and see what they have to offer. And so she takes the car to this specialty used lot, all cleaned up and nice, and she shows it to the used lot, and they offer her $100. Okay. She takes that back to Dad, and Dad says, okay, now I want you to go and take it to one of the local car meetups and offer that car for sale at one of the car meetups. So she, of course, has this beautifully cleaned car. She takes it to the car meetup where there's a bunch of enthusiasts for this car, and she offers it for sale and gets an offer for $100,000. So the concept, and there's a lot of different ways you can write the value of this or the concept behind this. It's a lot about perspective, and it's a lot about value. Our perspective can change completely when you understand that other people see it differently. Our perspective can change based on understanding what other people see in things. But the value of anything and our own value is only as high as the people around us give us. And so when we have a tendency to put ourselves amongst people that don't value what we offer or what we do, then it really lowers our, sorry, I'm all on the wrong thing. So it really diminishes what we value. I saw also a TikTok last night with Gary Vee. And Gary Vee, for those of you who don't, if you don't know Gary Vee, I'm not sure how you don't know who Gary Vee is. He's a social media dude I call him the master of the obvious, but he's actually quite incredible the way he thinks. And one of the things he said is that it was the same concept as the car, but he took a mug and he was at a yard sale and he started like picking up mugs for like 25 cents a piece. I tried to find a mug in our studio and we don't even have one. I thought we did, but he'd pick up these mugs for 25 cents a piece. And, most people's perspective is that this is just somebody's garbage. It's somebody's trash. Who would drink from another person's mug, like whatever. But he learned how to, go to eBay and look these mugs up on eBay and find what they're going for. And some of them were going for as much as $100. So again, I think it really comes down to value and perspective, like what people value and how that perceived value is. Like what do people, like what's their perspective? And for photographers, I see this so much, like especially with one who will not be named. Oh dear. I'm calling you out. Has such a tendency to see everything in such a negative perspective. Unfortunately, that diminishes, like it has we've talked about the whole negative positive energy aspect of things and how it can really, that negative energy kind of in a lot of ways it portrays it creates, it's like energy is real. Like the more negative you are around other people, the more negative they tend to be. Whereas the opposite, the more positive you are around other people, the more positive they'll be. You can walk outside today and see, like right now we have overcast skies. As a photographer, some people might be like, in fact, our customers all the time are like, oh, well, should we even continue today? Because honestly, like I really just wanted blue skies and sunshine. And me as a photographer, my perspective is like, well, this is like a giant softbox. So it's a whole different perspective. But the perspective that everybody takes is like, as you walk down the street, like some people might see a penny on the ground and think like, hey, I'm 1% closer to a whole dollar. And a lot of people will step over that penny because they don't want to take the time to pick it up because they see it's just a penny. It's not going to make anything. It's not going to do me any good. So what are your, do you have any thoughts on this?
I just think perspective is very interesting when you think about progressing yourself and changing, because there's so many things that it can change. And one simple act, like, but if you go back to Ansley, there were so many things that I never thought about in life or other, just things that it never even dawned on me. Like the experiences that we went through and the things that we had to learn, not to be morbid or anything, but just to prove a point, like when everything was happening, to release her body, to go to the funeral, we had to have everything paid. You have to have every single penny paid. So I had to come up with $20,000 in 2 days if I wanted to continue with her funeral. And I never thought about that. I think about people dying all the time. We know it's part of life. But I didn't think about the hardships that came to those family members. And now I think of things different. So I think
different perspective.
Yeah. And that perspective allows you to change. And I think a lot of times the change is what's scary about the perspective, because once you open your eyes to something that's different, and you allow your world to either expand or contract if you're going backwards. But you have to do something with that. You can't just sit on it. Like there's no way to just sit on it. And so you move forward in a different direction than you were going before. And that change sometimes is what's hard and scary. Or admitting to others, I see things differently now. And so I believe things differently now. And that means that I'm going to live my life in a different way. And then you have to make room for those that are willing to follow you. And you have to be able to say goodbye to those that aren't willing to go down that path with you. And it's amazing how much can change once, the perspective changes, but all the little avenues that are around it change as well. And you just have to have the courage to keep going with that change and trusting yourself and the voice of reason sometimes and the other people that you put in your village. But I guess that's what I have to say.
Well, and that is really interesting, because that's something that after seeing you go through that and like hearing you tell that story about how like they wouldn't even release her body to the funeral home until everything was paid, and I was like, now I see the same thing a lot more. Like I see that same different perspective. I do it meaning like when I see that somebody's life has come to an end, like those are the things you think, like, man, like, do they realize what's coming? Like how much it's going to cost for all that funeral stuff. And I even, like, we had one of our seniors' dads who passed away this year, and that was one of the things they talked about. And that was something that like I was attuned to because the perspective was different. Yeah. And I think what's really interesting is in business, like we all have a different perspective on things. Another huge example of this is that last talk at Imaging with Kaplan Mowbray. And I think that maybe it's more that like we had a different perspective on life and what it means to have those connections with people, because that loss was so close. Yeah. Interestingly, we had the 6-month mark. We were talking about this the other day, and again, we're making a lot of this about Ansley, which is great for Ansley, a little stinker. But like almost 6 months to the day of losing Ansley, we had, it was the week. So we had 3 shoots that week, because we do work just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on shoots. And day one the day that we had Hadley, and the girl had like freckles and facial expressions, and even the like just the. Well,
she was tall like Anne.
Yeah, she was tall. She went to the same school.
Yep, same school. Same
and everything
school.
Like there was just so many things about her that like I didn't even want to say anything, because I knew it was still super sensitive, like and still new for you. But like that was one of those days that like you could tell you were just like you were loving it, but you were struggling with it. Yeah. Then day 2 was Viviana, and she played the cello. So we were actually, I wish we had this picture to show. We were standing on this hill overlooking the city. The sunset was amazing, and the sun was like reflecting off the Boise River down below, and it looked like fire.
That was amazing.
And she was in this beautiful red dress, and she just started playing this beautiful cello music, which the cello was something that Ansley played. And Mia just kind of broke down. Like I had to go over and give her a hug, because she just broke down, and nobody else understood. Like that perspective is different. Like we don't understand those things until our perspective changes. And then the following day, so 3 days in a row, following day, Tyler was working with one of the girls at a waterfall. One of the biggest things, one of the things that was talked about so much in the funeral and just kind of like on Facebook and all these things, were these pictures of Ansley standing in front of the waterfalls, because that was something that they did as a family a lot. They would go chasing waterfalls, just like the song says. They'd go looking for waterfalls, and when they would find their waterfall, they would stand in the mist and hold their arms up in the air. Yep. And so
Tyler didn't know any of this.
He didn't know any of it. We were just at the car, and I see you just kind of breaking down, like like
Yeah, I collapsed on that one.
folding
That was
over, and
not
I'm like,
good.
what the heck? I don't understand. What's your deal? And then I look over and I see he's got her hands up in front of this waterfall. So, again, I know this is like a lot about Ansley, but there's so much about the perspective. When your perspective changes, when you actually take the time to see things from a different perspective, it changes everything about the way you look at things. I can't go into the Cheesecake Factory. I can't go anywhere without thinking, I wonder what these people's cost of goods are. I wonder what it costs them to build this space out. Because like, I mean, if you've never built out a commercial space, you don't know what tenant improvements are. A lot of times you don't understand like what those things cost, how much you have to pay. Like if you think that like running into a building is like no big deal, your insurance pays for it. Well, sadly, you'd think that a building, the company that owns the building would cover that, but it's actually different. And so these are all things that you learn as you gain more perspective. So in all that, what can you do to create new perspective? What can you do to change like the way you think about things and see things in a different perspective? So I don't know if I'm beating a dead horse. You know the one thing I forgot to do today? I forgot to change their perspective about who was most engaging.
Change your perspective on how they participate in the group.
I'm just making it. They're all just sitting here. They're like, would you just shut up
and tell us
and
this
get to who
already?
the winner is? I think you guys are going to be shocked. It's a little upsetting. It's a little different than what you guys might think. But anyway.
I won.
Mia won. Any other thoughts that you have that you want to kind of throw in here, share?
I think what you were just saying about the cost of goods in business, because we want to try and relate this back, but we have a friend who was in the situation where this man his wife came in, she did the sales session, she got what she wanted, he apparently was upset with how much she spent or whatever, and he came back and he totally harped on our friend and her whole thing and just brought her like way down. And so she's been going back and forth with it. And it's just interesting. One of the things that she and I were talking about last night, we went to dinner and she was talking about how she still wants she wants to make him understand that he can't do this to other people. And just kind of change his perspective on how he is treating her as a business owner. And we'll play the woman card as a woman business owner, because from this experience, he seems like that's what he's doing. But I think in business, a lot of times we get defensive when people don't respect either our prices, our time, our value, or whatever it is, and we want to change their perspective. And I think sometimes that's a necessary thing to change somebody else's perspective in a good way. It doesn't mean you need to be a total a-hole or anything. But, so I don't know, maybe you can give us some ways that we can change people's perspective without saying, like, I am worth ABC. How do we change that perspective that somebody has, that we went somewhere else and we only paid this much there, so we should only pay that much for you because that's what we've done before, when you're like, actually?
Yeah. And I think all too often we have this tendency where we want to forcefully change people's perspective.
Yeah.
In that particular situation, I've been through the same thing. In fact, I even told her that she has the option to sue him because he literally stopped a check and took all the product and stopped the check and basically fraudulently screwed her over. And so I was like, you honestly have the opportunity to sue him. But I also pointed out the opposite side of the coin, the other perspective, is I said, the one thing that I've noticed is every time you talk about this, it absorbs so much of your energy, so much of your focus. And if you choose to go after him and sue him, is his mind going to change? Is his perspective going to change? Probably not. He's just going to get really much more angry with her, probably try to hurt her in any way that he can. I said, and is it going to help your business to spend all that time and effort and negative energy trying to prove this point. And my point in saying all that is that I think we have to be open to seeing other perspectives. We have to be open and conscious. And I think that it really boils down to like that whole concept of you have to be willing to be responsible for every action, every decision. You have to be responsible for yourself, not a fault blamer or what's the word? Like a victim. Yeah. And when you choose to have an open mind and to be responsible for your own actions, you choose to allow other perspective. You choose to be available to see other perspective, because you start to look at everything from like two different ways. Like, this person really made me mad. I'm really angry. Like, but then at the same time, like, in all that challenge and all that pain, you end up learning a lesson, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so you're kind of forced into that perspective. What you do with it, that's really up to you. And so still, no matter what, perspective comes down to a choice. You have the choice. Doesn't mean that it's easier. Just you have the choice to see things in the light and in the perspective that you choose to see them. I think that, and this is a really hard one for me, like, I don't want to get into the subject too much, but religion is one of those things that has, we experience guilt and shame. And, I think that boils down to a perspective. Like, is that a guilt and the shame that we feel because we need to feel guilt and shame, or is it kind of, again, I don't really want to get into this subject, but it all comes down to perspective. Like, you can choose to see it as a damaging process, or you can choose to use it to make yourself better. I think the ultimate goal is that you choose to make yourself better. But ultimately, I think that some people become capable of really just completely decimating their self-value with guilt and shame. And so that's when you really have to take a look at it and say, okay, where, like, if I continue to pursue this perspective of said situation, does it do more for me or does it do less for me? And I'm not talking about religion specifically in that situation. I'm talking about anything. When you choose a perspective, if you choose to feel like, you know what, nobody likes my work, nobody's calling me, I suck, like all those things, that's a perspective that you're choosing. If you can look at it from a different perspective and say, you know what, I haven't. In fact, Tim just said the other day, he said in the book, or the chapter 1 of the book, one of the things it talks about is that if people don't know about you, it's because you haven't done the best job that you can do to become visible in their eyes. And so when you have a crowd of 100 people saying, ooh, pick me, I see this all the time on Facebook. Like, people are like, hey, I need a photographer for this. I don't even typically like comment or say anything, because I don't want to be one of the people just in the crowd waving my hand. So I typically will go to the like direct message, and I'll send that person a message and say, hey, just wanted to make sure you got all your questions answered. And so again, it's just doing something different so that you're not just that same person. But it comes down to perspective. Like, you got to see it in a different light to be able to but you have to choose. You have to choose to want to see it in a different light. And I think all too often we choose the easiest route, which is sometimes just to be hard on ourselves.
Or the route that you're used to, because it's another change, you know? So sometimes it's hard to step out of that path and try something new.
So, I think I've beat the perspective horse, and there's so much more. Honestly, I was like, when I first thought about talking about this topic today, and actually the comment that Mia made in our text message that caused me to decide to do this topic was, do you have it in Trello?
Yeah, I think so.
So read what I wrote because it's actually really funny. We were talking on the phone and she was like, I'm just ready for all this shit that piles on me. Do you find it?
No, we don't think we put it in. We should just put the shit in my path.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, that's what you said. And I tried to abbreviate it because I knew she has access to.
So you tried to hide that.
Yeah, so I was like in the mid
conversation.
conversation, in mid conversation, we're messaging back and forth, and she says, "I'm just ready for all like to be done." I think she said with like all this shit being put in my path.
Yeah, something like that.
Something to that effect. And so I tried to be really careful about how I put it into Trello.
And then I get a notification. Ding.
And then I tried to like bring her attention away from notifications, but I was like, just ignore that. Don't think anything of it, but I wanted to remember that this was a topic I wanted to talk about, and I probably didn't even do it like justice. But I just think about it, guys. Like, think about how bizarre, like. No matter, like, look at every situation. In fact, today, that would be my challenge for you today. Look at every situation like that piques your interest and say, okay, well, what's a different perspective? Like, okay, it's gross looking and nasty outside, but what's the better perspective? The better perspective is it's soft light. We could go out and take pictures any direction we want because we don't have to worry about where the sun's at. You know, like if your car is on empty and you have to get gas, like, find the better perspective and, you know, don't just think that, I don't know. You
can get a candy bar and
that was a poor example. Okay, should we announce our winners?
I guess.
Okay, so for those of you who are here that have been paying attention, we did an engagement giveaway. That's what we're calling it. Offered a pair of AirPods for whoever liked, commented, and engaged the most over the Facebook group in the last month. Now, it actually did a lot, and I was super excited about like all the different things because literally, like, I post and it's like just people just don't even see things. Mia posts and even less people see things.
Hey.
Now it's obviously so yes, we're paying for engagement, but I think it's just kind of a fun way. It's been
a fun month. Like, it's fun to hear all these things from people.
And it's been I've seen a lot of really creative stuff. Like James's video last night was hilarious. I love that he's petitioning for that specifically. We got Tim to read a damn book.
That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, like, so.
I think he even bought the book for next month, too.
Well, no, that's the book that we're talking about.
No, he read the book that I gave him.
I haven't announced next month's yet.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, you gave him.
Yeah, he like read.
No, today is February. This is this month. I haven't announced next
this
month's
month.
book.
Ugh.
Okay. See, her perspective is all messed up. So, at the top of the running, I thought for sure Katrina Hoffman was going to run away with it because she was the first one that just jumped in and started posting like crazy right off the bat. Tim comes up from behind and honestly kind of decimated everybody. But what we didn't see coming, James comes in, what's funny is Tim invited James to the 7FP group. Tim's going to be really disappointed to find out that James didn't beat him. But he got really, really close, and he didn't even start until like maybe not halfway through the month, but like he didn't really start pretty
halfway.
Close to halfway through the month. But yes, the winner of the AirPods is Tim Goetz, greatest of all time except Sam. So Tim won the AirPod 3s. I will go pick those up. And do you want me to send them to you, or do you, wait?
Give them to him at sync.
What's he saying no for? He's still hearing the last part of my. That being said, I was so impressed with just all the back and forth and the fun stuff. And the whole point of this was to get engagement. And honestly, these two just were the top of all the engagement. So sometimes you're going to find out that you just should have tried regardless of what you think, and maybe you'll win because I'm going to give away 2 sets of AirPods, and James is going to get the second pair. So, you guys need to reach out to me and let me know where you want them sent to, or if you want me to just bring them to sync with me. It might just be better to send. I got to send James a shirt anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, congratulations, guys.
Yeah, congrats.
I have not announced what next month's going to be, but I will do that by today or tonight.
Or tomorrow.
No. Yes, he will have 2 books down soon. James gave me a run for my money, and I knew I was the one that invited him to the group. But the good thing to know is that even though you invited him to the group, you didn't lose, so you did good. It was like the difference. The spread was like I'm not going to math very well here, but it was like 39 points. And when I mean 39 points, like you get a point for every like, you get a point for every post. You get a little bit more for like engaging posts, like how it, and I literally am just pulling this information off of Facebook. Like I export a CSV sheet that shows all the data, like everything everybody's done, and I just go in and I go Excel spreadsheet it and add up the numbers and see who it is. So, so yeah, congratulations, guys. I appreciate it, and I hope it was fun, and I hope that you guys will continue to hopefully we get more than just you two that fight for it this time. Congrats to you as well. We are all growing together, and invites.
Oh, because he invited people, probably.
Oh, and yeah. Oh, yeah. He invited a bunch of people just the other day. So, all right, guys, that is everything for today. Today's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I can get my freaking button gear and have a good topic for you on Thursday. You would think that I had all this planned out.
You've been doing really good. Today just kind of showed up.
The last 2 weeks have been a struggle.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We've got other things we're
I just got to do better.
Yep.
I can do it. I can do this.
You can do it.
And I'm struggling because I need Diet Coke. That's really what it is.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just kidding. I'm fine. All right, guys. I guess it's time for the outro music that Tim and James love.